If you clicked on this video, you were either expecting me to defend Callisto Protocol or to rant about all the things it got wrong. Okay, so here's the thing. You have come to the right place. Allow me to explain. I am not arrogant by any means, but I say this because I am a fan of the original Dead Space games. I played all 3 games and loved them. However, I never viewed this game as the second coming of Jesus. I never thought to myself, this is gonna be like playing a 4th Dead Space game, baby. Awesome. No, I didn't think that. I was happy that the guy that created Dead Space was making another survival horror game. Cool. Maybe I'll check it out. I really want to check it out, so I guess I will. But you get what I'm saying. So I was pretty much walking into this game with an open mind, a blank canvas, so to speak. That is why the guy that is speaking at this very moment to you will provide you some honest thoughts on the game, as well as why I think some people are disappointed. You should especially listen to this last section. While I do agree with some of the criticism, I don't agree with everything. If you enjoy videos such as this, please let me know down in the comment section. I know I've been hitting you guys heavy with a lot of horror, so we will be mixing things up shortly, okay? So just hang in there. The suffering will end shortly. With that out of the way, let's jump right into the video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I am Ryofu and you are watching The Gaming Harbinger. As some of you are aware, Callisto has received mixed to below average reviews. There's people like Jimquisition that are giving it extremely low scores and saying it's underwhelming and disappointing.
They didn't even try to make enemies as inventive as the necromorphs, stopping at shitty space zombies and calling it a day. Then there's the weird melee-oriented combat that copies Punch-Out of all things, where you use the movement stick to dodge shittily telegraphed attacks in a way that keeps moving the camera and focuses on a single enemy so the others can liberally smack you from off screen. God, I fucking hate this game, I hate it.
I'll get into how I think this game just has design problems all over the place. It was an idea that was implemented and they just didn't seem to have enough time to really fine tune it into something that works properly, because I understand what they were going for, but as you die over and over, and even when I got used to it, because I already saw when I put out my tweet, a lot of people going, get good, bro. Shut up. You get used to it. It still is not a good dodge system at all.
And then there are others that are defending it and saying it's not Dead Space, so stop comparing it to that.
I was honestly looking forward to this game, and after playing through it, I like it. I like the game. I think there's a lot of positive things within this game, and I don't think it's quite as bad as a lot of people are making it out to be.
It makes me so sad that so many people are hating on the Callisto Protocol because it's not Dead Space. Like, obviously it's not Dead Space, it's Callisto Protocol, which I'm super hyped for Dead Space Remake coming out next month. I mean, I used to love Dead Space, but seriously, if you want a good horror game and you don't go in it with a bunch of expectations, I really think a lot of people will like this game. I love the combat. It's fun.
One thing is for sure, you can tell people think very highly of Dead Space. Some criticize the 3rd game, but I would even argue that the 3rd game is good. I played through it with a friend about 2.5 years ago and had a blast. I would say it's not as scary as the first 2, and you have way more ammo, but saying it's a bad or a mediocre game is being a little disingenuous. For the few that don't know, Callisto Protocol is a sci-fi survival horror game that was released December of 2022 by Striking Distance Studios. Callisto Protocol starts off with a very generic and standard, we have a job to do, so just keep your head down story that goes horribly wrong. Your ship is under siege and then eventually crashes. At this point, you are taken prisoner along with one of the people that attempted to hijack your ship. I think this whole sequence of events is very entertaining. It's a great opener. It kind of just throws you right into the mix with no warning whatsoever. As the story continues, you kind of start to see the plot behind all of this a little undercooked. You have also seen and heard something similar in many other sci-fi horror media. With that being said, It may not be very original, but you know what? That does not mean it's not entertaining. But the first thing that immediately caught my eye was the melee combat in the game. Full disclosure, I like the combat. I don't think the dodging mechanic is perfect, but it is a gritty and very visceral experience. Absolutely no pun intended whatsoever, by the way. The violence and gore on display during these sequences are very intense. Some people don't like the dodging system because it seems to act up when there are multiple enemies on screen. This can be an issue, but usually only one will attack at a time. I think where this can be dicey is when you have more than one enemy attacking and they are on opposite sides of you, like one in the front, one in the back. That means you might have to dodge a little more than you would like to and also reposition yourself. As far as firearms are concerned in the game, it essentially feels like Dead Space. There is a familiar mechanic that allows you to use telekinesis. Unlike in Dead Space though, you can pick up live bodies in the game. So you can pick up and throw an enemy out of the way just to get away from them. I will say the guns feel less imaginative than the Dead Space games. You also have to max out your upgrades in order to unlock secondary abilities. I found this rather odd. As far as the graphics go, character models look really, really good. This will probably be one of the first things that grabs most people's attention. Upon release, the game had some major issues such as stutters and frame dips. Some of this has been cleaned up with the first updates. PC has been the version that has taken the biggest hit and looking the least optimized. I suppose I should have purchased this on the PlayStation 5 because this seems to be the most stable version. I played on the Series X. I can see there are some issues with reflections, but nothing insanely bad like the bugs in Cyberpunk. As far as the atmosphere and enemy designs, while they are good, this is nothing you haven't seen before. The many ways you can die are very entertaining to watch. They run a tad long though. This would be the part where I show you some amazing clips and awesome deaths that I had, and that made me mad. But YouTube has been a little jumpy lately, so we're just not gonna poke the bear. Use your imagination. I know there's people out there that have been willing to take that chance, so if you've seen those videos already, awesome. Point being, these death scenes are very gruesome. In the next section, I would like to talk about the things that I have criticisms toward. And then lastly, I want to talk about why I believe the game is getting a lot of heat. This last section might be the reason you clicked on this video. So keep watching, and if you haven't already, give the video a like, man. Come on. So the first thing I would criticize is that there is no leveling or armor change in the game. There is a section in the game where you will ditch your inmate clothes, but it doesn't do much to affect damage taken. Upgrading and changing armor was... Wait a minute, I just realized something. Damn, yeah, this isn't Dead Space, okay. So maybe it's a moot point, but it is something I wish we had this option. I wish we could have some type of armor upgrade and whatnot. Moving along though. I do feel they kind of dropped the ball in regards to the guns in the game. Not only have you seen them before, they are very forgettable. If there is any area I would be critical of, it would definitely be the story. Dead Space didn't have this masterpiece story backdrop, but it was decent and compelling enough. I feel like with this game, the story was very secondary and not as important. Now in the first half of the game, you can be a little forgiving to the small details being revealed, but once you realize the story is heading in this very generic experimentations going horribly wrong, oh my god, I kinda couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. But as most of you are aware, there are some games that are just fun to play even with the meh stories. As I said earlier, I think the combat is more than adequate, but if you don't care for it, I can see why it would make you dislike the game. There is one part of the game I do want to discuss because it surprised me. This game has a segment where it introduces you to a new enemy. It's an enemy that is blind, but it has superb hearing. Now the easy way to take them out is to squat and wait. Once they come by, you can do a quick execution and take them out. Now I'm not gonna lie, executions are exciting just like they were in Evil Within 2. You thought I was done talking about Evil Within 2, didn't you? They look great. It's satisfying, but going through multiple rooms having to do this through a very lengthy section is going to get underwhelming for the average person. I find the executions entertaining, but it felt as if there was this good hour and a half dedicated to just waiting to execute these guys. I could, in fact, be wrong with this number, and the segment could be 2 hours long. That's just insane to me. This really felt as if they stretched this section out longer to pad out the game. Now let's take a moment to discuss what people are getting emotional about. I feel as if some of this can be explained. People are in fact comparing it too damn much to Dead Space. Even I have done it a little bit in this review. It's clear that with Dead Space, there were a lot of unique ideas in the game that blew us away back then. Now that we have been exposed to these ideas, there is just not as many original ideas this go around. In fact, I would say the newest idea is the dodging system, which has been very polarizing. In fact, that is my next point. There are quite a few reviews strongly disliking the dodge system. The reason why I believe they don't like it is because this is not like Dead Space where you just point and shoot enemy limbs with zany sci-fi weaponry. This isn't like Evil Within 2 where you have a couple of different ways to approach an enemy. No. In this game, they have a preferred path. There are explosive canisters to shoot. You can also pick up enemies using telekinesis and throw them into a fan or huge spinning gears. But most of the time, the game wants you to dodge, melee, melee, shoot, dodge, melee, melee. You shooting at something is meant to be part of the combo, not you just walking around and shooting at everything on sight. I think the combat system isn't perfect, but it's satisfying when you get the rhythm down. Your weapons do more damage when they are a part of a combo. But when you read these negative reviews, you can tell some people used all of their ammo up and then had to rely purely on meleeing, and then they were getting frustrated because they didn't save any ammo for their melee combos. So the melee fights lasted longer than they should have. Compound that with fights involving multiple enemies and you end up with one sad or angry gamer. I think another reason why this game got harsh reviews is because of how poorly optimized the initial release was. The initial footage I saw of the game running on PC was horrible. I would say that the level of stuttering made it unplayable. I don't say that very often, but I do believe that is the case when it initially came out. I think the fact that this game came out right when the price hike happened affected people's opinion as well. Granted, it won't be the only $70 game that came out in December. It's shorter than most AAA games. And I would say it's the length of a typical horror game, but I think the average person these days are used to their bloated open world games, and when they see a full price game that can be beaten over a weekend, they think, it's not worth it. In closing, overall, how do I feel about it? It was an uneven experience, but I would say I enjoyed it. I know for some people it may not sound like I enjoyed it, but I did. I am just trying to be pragmatic on my perspective because I know Dead Space fans' hype level will be extremely high for this, and I want them to not get their hopes up too high. There's nothing wrong with criticizing this game or not liking it, but I think giving it an extremely low score is being a bit dramatic. We need to be reasonable about stuff like this as content creators, because when actual 2s and 3s come along, we want to be able to make that distinction, and we want the people to make that distinction as well. Not just be reactionary to when we see multiple flaws in a game. There are levels to this. There are really bad games that have poor controls and are not fun to play and are just absolutely janky. This is not that. I think this is one of those moments where I would really like to see what direction the story would take. I would play a sequel to this, but I would like to see more unique weapons, a less buggy release, and a focus on the story. I kind of feel like since they invested so much into the combat, they will do what they can to improve it, so that's why I didn't include that in that list of stuff I just said. I'm sure they are aware of the reaction to the combat was very mixed, but it was discussed by so many people that they will have to make changes in order to win people over the next go around. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Let me know where you stand in the comment section down below. Please share the video or consider subscribing if you haven't already. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.